And now,
Good evening. A very special welcome to our viewers and today's panelists. We applaud you for showing interest in this forum to discuss the importance of family. My name is Jonelle James, and I'm an entrepreneur from the island of St. Lucia in the Caribbean. I'm honored to be your moderator today for this webinar organized by the Universal Peace Federation. The Universal Peace Federation, or UPF in short, is a global network of individuals and organizations dedicated to building a world of peace centered on universal, spiritual, and moral values. The organization promotes interfaith cooperation and mutual understanding based on the principles of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. To learn more, you can visit their website, upf.org. So today, we mark the observance of the International Day of Families, celebrated every year on the 15th of May, as established by the UN in 1993. The International Day of Families is a global observance that focuses on the importance of families. The United Nations established this day to highlight the critical role families play in our society, to raise awareness of issues relating to families, and to increase knowledge of the social, economic, and demographic processes affecting the families. Of course, because this is how you find solutions. So we begin this evening's proceedings with welcome remarks from Dr. Ricardo de Sena. He's the chairman of the UPF for Central America and the Caribbean region, encompassing 21 nations. He also serves as the director of the UPF Office of the UN Relations, overseeing activities with the 193 member nations of the UN. So it sounds like a lot, right? With a tenure at the UPF since its inception in 2005, he has held various leadership positions, including chairman of the UPF in the United States of America. He brings a wealth of experience, having engaged with heads of states and world leaders across diverse fields such as politics, religion, academia, media, culture, and sports. Dr. De Sena is dedicated to spreading the UPF universal principles of peace globally, having taught these principles in Latin America and the Caribbean, North America, Europe, and Asia. And of course, personally, his commitment to peace extends to his family life. Ricardo and his wife were married in 1989 in a special international blessing ceremony officiated by the founders of UPF. They are proud parents of 3 children. His insights and leadership serve as a guiding light in the collective pursuit of peace and harmony. So sit forward and focus and listen closely to Dr. Ricardo de Sena.
distinguished leaders, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, and if I may, dear family, thank you so much for taking time from your very, very busy schedule to be attending this special webinar. Happy United Nations International Day of Families. For the Universal Peace Federation, the family is core, is key, is central. That's why we call it is the school of love and peace. When we look at the United Nations, there are 133 member states. And even if 2 countries are at war, for example, we see what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, or what's happening in the Holy Land, we cannot talk about world peace, right? But if we think about where peace really starts substantially, as the school of love and peace, is in the family. We cannot have a world of peace if we don't have families of peace. That's why the founding parents of the Universal Peace Federation, the Father and Mother Moon, always emphasized, let's begin with peace at home. So I want to thank you so much for this time that you're taking, and please think about your family, how your family can be the most beautiful, wonderful model of peace and love in your neighborhood. Can be a light that can inspire so many other families that unfortunately are going through struggle and are going through difficulties. I also want to thank very much Remy Topier, who is our not only the director of the UPF in the beautiful country of St. Lucia, but also he is the regional coordinator for the International Interreligious Association for Peace and Development, 21 nations. Thank you, Reverend Remy Topier. Thank you, everyone. I wish you a wonderful webinar. God bless you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Ricardo de Sena. And of course, so many powerful highlights shared here in that short space of time. Next, we will have a special video message from Miss Andresia Octave. With a background as a youth worker in the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, she currently works with First Caribbean Bank. This gives her firsthand insight into the challenges facing young people today, as well as the opportunities available to them. Hailing from a small community of Marcia in Castries, St. Lucia, Andresia excelled both academically and in extracurricular activities, despite facing adverse situations. She's currently pursuing a bachelor's in business management with a minor in marketing at Monroe College, driven by her passion for people development. As a community leader, she has served as the past president of the Castries East Youth and Sports Council and as an Academy for Women Entrepreneurs alumni. She's recognized for her commitment to making a difference in her community. Beyond her professional pursuits, she aspires to establish herself as an international business owner and personal development coach. Her guiding philosophy, being of service to others is being of service to self, underscores her dedication to creating a positive impact in the lives of those around her. We are pleased to have her share her insights and experiences with us today. I give you Miss Andresia Octave.
Good evening, everybody, my fellow advocates for family well-being. I just want to go ahead and say thank you to Mr. Remy Topier, Director of the Universal Peace Federation, for providing this platform for us to engage in this necessary conversation, especially as an opportunity to commemorate the UN International Day of Families. Again, I just want to say thank you. Now, allow me to begin with a poignant quote that has resonated deeply within me since a conversation held earlier this year. I realize parents do not play with their children here in St. Lucia. This statement was uttered during a discussion among youth leaders and advocates, and it struck a chord within me and has since remained ingrained in my thoughts. Our conversation that day revolved around youth, crime and violence, and highlighting the pivotal role of parental support and positive role models in shaping the future of our nation's youth. As a young person and a young parent myself with 2 children, I can attest firsthand to the significance of healthy relationships within the family unit as a precursor to individual and societal success. Unfortunately, in the Caribbean, there exists a pervasive belief in the efficacy of physical discipline, often referred to as beating, and that has become the standard or means of instilling discipline in our children. However, today, I challenge this notion. Recall, if you will, any instance from your own childhood where you experienced such disciplinary measures. And I'm asking you these questions for you to think. Did it foster understanding within you? Did it encourage open communication between you and your parents? And more often than not, the answer to that is a resounding no. By default, we have inherited a culture of silence, where respect flows predominantly from child to parent, neglecting the neglecting the importance of reciprocal understanding and communication. Creating safe spaces for our children to express themselves is paramount and very much necessary. It cultivates critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and self-advocacy skills essential for their holistic development. Parents bear the responsibility of laying the foundation for their children's future success by fostering nurturing, supportive environments within the home that encourages these behaviors. Now, statistics consistently demonstrate the profound impact of stable, loving family structures on children's outcomes compared to those from dysfunctional households. Dysfunctional family dynamics perpetuates cycles of abuse, mental health disorders, increased criminal activity, and poverty. However, parents who embark on their journey of healing and self-discovery are better equipped to nurture healthy relationships with their children and break these detrimental cycles. A strong family structure serves as a cornerstone for individual and societal well-being. It fosters resilience, empathy, and a sense of belonging, equipping children with the tools necessary to navigate the complexities of the world. And as adults, some of us not too long ago leaving our teenagers and are now coming to an understanding of how complex the world can be and how much harder it can be if there is no parental support. In conclusion, I emphasize the imperative for parents to prioritize their own personal growth and healing, seeking therapy, confronting childhood trauma, and exploring alternative disciplinary approaches are essential steps toward creating loving, nurturing homes that serve as sanctuaries for our children. Until we challenge the status quo and commit to introspection and growth as parents, we risk perpetuating a cycle of unfulfilled potential and societal discord. So I leave with you an urge to recommit ourselves today to strengthening our families, thereby healing our nations and shaping a brighter future for generations to come. Thank you.
Powerful, powerful indeed. You know, this is a very important aspect of strong families, strong parents, parents who have done the work to face their challenges head on and put in the commitment required to heal themselves so that they can also be available for the challenges that their children will face. So, and to build right upon this message, we're privileged to have Ms. Felicia Dujour share her expertise as a parental rights advocate and founder of the Caribbean Mentorship Institute. Through her leadership as the Institute's president, Felicia has championed mentoring programs for youth across the Caribbean, driven by the belief that every youth has the potential to succeed. Beyond her advocacy work, she also brings to the table her knowledge as a lecturer at the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus in Barbados, specializing in philosophy of law, gender, metaphysics, and moral philosophy. Recognizing the challenges facing our small Caribbean nations, Felicia emphasizes the importance of advocating for alternative solutions for peace building and development. She underscores the critical role of encouraging youth to think positively about themselves and their communities, prioritizing the experience of peace within their homes, their schools, their communities, and their countries. With her dedication and passion to empowering youth and promoting peace, Felicia Dujour brings invaluable insights to our discussion today. Help me welcome Ms. Felicia Dujour.
Hello, good evening, brothers and sisters. How is everyone doing this evening? And I think it's a very important discussion that we have this evening, primarily dealing with the rights of parents in particular, and the important role that families play within our Caribbean societies and all societies. One of the things that is quite alarming very recently is the role of the responsibility of families, of parents. And what we're seeing is that some governments are trying to erode those rights, the rights of parents, the fundamental rights that parents do have. That parents have the right to the instructions of education and spiritual guidance of their children. And it's very important that parents remember that their rights are God-given rights. These are not rights that the state can take from you. The only reason the state can do that is if in cases where there's any form of abuse or anything of that nature. But parental rights and family rights is very significant in our society. And we have to continue to embrace and to promote the rights of parents, because as we know, without parents, we would not be here. So it's very important that we're very mindful that parents have a significant role to play in the upliftment and the development of our societies. With the breakdown of families, we can see what is happening. We've seen breakdown in children, what they do in terms of academically. We see in terms of students, some of them may not continue their education, some of them may drop out. We're seeing the increase of violence, and we're seeing the various breakdown of our family units. And we must remember the first family was God-given, and God created the family for a particular reason, to ensure that there's a holistic nature of us as human beings, but also to be very mindful that a family and a society and a state begins with that fundamental unit, the mother and the father. And we must never forget that those fundamental rules must be always encouraged. We must provide them with the guidance, and we must provide them with the kinds of stability that is required for the society. So as we have noticed, primarily in most societies, what we're seeing is that certain societies, certain governments are attempting to erode the rights of parents, to remove the fundamental rights of parents, to provide instructions to children without the acknowledgement of parents. So we must remember, as family members, the important values of families, especially when we have children and the nurturing of children. Our children need a family unit. Our children need a family unit that is strong, that is God-centered, that they understand their roles and responsibilities within society, but most importantly, that they understand that they are there to help the development of a country. If we do not have strong families, if we do not have families that are God-fearing, then we can almost imagine a society that is broken, a society that does not look to God for the right kinds of instructions, but also what is very significant, we will find our children will continue to be lost in a world that does not give them the answers that is necessary. So this webinar today is very important. It's significant because it teaches us that the most fundamental part of any human civilization starts first and foremost with the parents, with the family, and then it extends to the community, then the society, then the state. And we're seeing that wide as we look in the world and we're seeing what is happening, the upheavals of war, children, parents at conflict with each other, the increase in violence. We're hearing mothers, fathers, children murdering each other. These are the times that we have to pull our families together. These are the times that we have to teach our children to be nurturing civilians, to be nurturing citizens within the societies. And most importantly, we have to bring back our families together. We have to provide them with the support so that families recognize their roles within society, and the state and government agencies recognize the fundamental and important roles that the family unit plays within all our societies. Thank you.
I did tell you that she was passionate, and she surely brought that passion to this stage today. Thank you very much, Felicia. We appreciate your presence with us here today. So it is now my pleasure to introduce Sherwin Alexander, an esteemed educator at the current secondary school, holding an associate's degree in agribusiness entrepreneurship. Beyond the classroom, Sherwin is the visionary CEO and founder of Backyard Gardening Solutions, pioneering modern agricultural techniques in St. Lucia's agricultural industry. Currently, he serves as the vice president of the St. Lucia Agricultural Forum for Youth, reflecting his commitment to youth engagement in agriculture. His dedication to youth development, volunteerism, and leadership has deep roots stemming from his formative years at Coram Secondary School. His passion has propelled him to represent St. Lucia internationally in leadership programs and become one of the first St. Lucians to graduate from the Fire Leadership Academy at Princeton University. An acting member of various youth and sports councils in the north of the island, Sherwin's outstanding leadership was recognized when he was nominated as Most Outstanding Student Leader at the St. Lucia National Youth Awards in 2020. At just 21 years old, Sherwin Alexander embodies the spirit of innovation, leadership, and service. And we're delighted to have him here with us. I give you Sherwin Alexander.
Good evening, everyone. I just would like to welcome all of you to this wonderful webinar with a very interesting topic. I believe that families is a big thing, and even when we watch our society, the crucial role that families play. With today and all the crime, all the situations that we face, even I as an educator, the students that I teach, it shows that families have a very crucial role to play in our society. Now, our society is not just made up of of children, of young people, but it's also made up of the older folks who are living down or passing on something to what we would call our economy. And it all starts from the family. So when I watch it from the perspective of an educator, I know or have an idea as to how important the family is in a student's or in a child's life. And then when I watch it as a business individual, I know how important family is when it comes to working for people, when it comes to taking on contracts and all those things. And one of the things that we've seen in our society is the lack of proper families, I would like to call that. Because a family is made up of, and if we go biblically, a family is made up of a man and a woman, and of course, what comes from them. So when you now see single parent families where you only have a mother or father that's in charge, we also find that just because of sometimes another factor or the other individual is missing, sometimes that child themselves may have qualities that some people may question. Some people may say, why is this child so introverted, or why is this child so extroverted? But at the end of the day, it's because of the effect of the family in that child's life. That's just one of the things that can cause them to react that way. Also, having families that don't have that financial support beneath them, because sometimes there is only one income bringer in the family, or maybe the family it has so many it has so many things that cannot be solved within it. You recognize that the individuals may live unhappy, the child from that family may live unhappy. And of course, we have some scenarios where individuals come from families and they flourish and they make these families happy. But that's not our day-by-day case. Okay, I believe that families are so important. Almost every single thing in this society starts from the family. And of course, with the topic that we have today, which is strengthening families, healing the nation, I do feel like if we do have families across the world where a lot of problems are eliminated from having both spouses in the relationship, trickling down to as small as having the right principles within that relationship. A lot of our problems in our nations, in the world, will be solved. It's as simple as this. A young man may be raised with his father in a single parent home, or if his mother, let's say a young man is raised with his mother in a single parent home and does not have his father, that family is not at the best financial level. This young man then goes to secondary school and he's seeing all his friends have the latest smartphone, have the nicest bag, and all those different scenarios, all those different things that they're seeing, they're experiencing that they may want, they might want. This young man can be led to falling into the negatives of life, which is a simple thing as maybe delving into gang violence or robbing somebody or stealing at a supermarket or any of these various things that actually is negative to our society. And it all starts because of coming from a family that cannot provide. And that's just a simple, basic situation, a simple thing that sometimes goes through all our nations, no matter where we are, as simple as it is. And we can recognize it starts from the family. So the family has a very crucial role to play. And I remember when I was young, I used to hear, it takes a village or community to raise a child. And we recognized back then we had way less crime because of, and I'm talking about specific to St. Lucia, we had way less crime, we had way less things going on because of not just a phrase or saying that was there, but also a standard. You would pass down the street and uh you would see somebody you don't know, you would greet them as a young man, as a child. But as we are in this new era, we recognize that young people have less respect. And of course, the principle of it takes a village or community to raise a child is it's in less effect. And because of that, you recognize our society is also heading to a level where we have an increase in crime, an increase in violence, and all those different things. And if we really look into that phrase and that standard, that principle that was held back then, you'd recognize when they say it takes a village or community to raise a child, it talks about family. A lot of times in a small island like St. Lucia, a lot of times the people in your community, the people in your village, a lot of times they are family members. So we see the power of family and how it can actually affect our society. As a business person, when I approach certain families to do certain work, we recognize sometimes, even with my workers, that something as simple that a family member can do, that a client can do themselves, not because of lack of time they're they're hiring me to do the services, but just because of the case scenario of not having maybe proper family structures, in the sense of somebody has, let's say, 3 children, and because of how they raise the children are lackadaisical, they don't want to do anything around the house. You recognize then the parent will now need somebody or to hire somebody to do such work for them. And it's just because of lack of a proper family structure. Okay, that just one, and I'm touching on the basic scenarios because it can become more complex. Certain people may have other ideas that that's in their mind that's popping up, but I just want to go as basic as I can go, and it boils all back down to this topic for this evening: strengthening families, sorry, healing the nation. Because the moment a family can operate the right way, with both individuals, both spouse, male and female, in the relationship, you recognize majority of the time the offsprings of these individuals are raised at a better light. Sometimes that individual might be more in tune with their emotions because they have the experience of seeing their father's emotion and their mother's emotion. It might not always be the best, but sometimes just that alone is needed. Sometimes all that's needed is the presence of these two individuals. So families is very crucial, and I do believe that it really creates a structure of our economy, our nation, and the good that can come out of it, the bad that can come out of it, and a whole list of things as to how it can affect our country or whatever country that it is in. I just want to thank you for bringing me on board on this webinar once again.
All right, and there we had Shuin Alexander present a very unique perspective of how families can also become engaged through a vital industry, which is the agricultural industry. Very strong points there about looking at the past, because if we revisit some of our own island's history, we would know how significant a role that caring for the family's agricultural investments were, whether it be the produce that the family grew or having to tend for chickens and the pigs and the goats before going to school, and all of the different responsibilities and how that helped to shape that generation. So very strong points. Thank you very much for sharing. So allow me to introduce Veronica Roberts, a dedicated student pursuing sciences at A-level at Viewfort Comprehensive Secondary School. In addition to excelling academically, she serves as a peer helper and prefect, demonstrating her commitment to supporting her peers and fostering a positive school environment. As the secretary of the A-level student organization, she plays a pivotal role in organizing and coordinating students' activities. Her aspirations extend beyond the classroom as she prepares for a future career as a medical scientist, doctor, or pharmacist. Outside of her academic pursuits, she's actively involved in the youth group of her church, reflecting her dedication to both personal and spiritual growth. In her leisure time, she indulges in creative pursuits such as crochet, making beaded jewelry to sell, photography, and even enjoys the thrill of riding motorcycles. With her diverse interests and unwavering determination, she embodies the spirit of curiosity, creativity, and ambition. We are delighted to have her as a part of today's presentation. Welcome, Veronica.
Okay, are you guys hearing me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks.
I hope I got your pronunciation of your name correct.
It's Veronica. Yes, you had it really good. I'm actually really happy about that. Thanks.
Okay, great.
Okay, so good night, everyone. I hope everybody had a good day today. I really hope. Okay, so I'm first going to start off by thanking you all for having me here. It's actually a really nice opportunity, and now I'm actually going to get into my presentation. So, okay, so my presentation starts with my experience at school. Basically, I did social studies for CSEC, and while doing social studies, you learn about the family. It's one of the main topics, well, one of the first topics on the syllabus. And what you learn about the family is that it is the first place in which an individual is, in the first place in which socialization, teaching, learning happens. So you would have young children, you would have their parents, you'd have their other family members in authoritative positions, and the children would be learning how to do different things, how to react, how to behave, their morals, their values, their religion, and so many other traits and characteristics from their parents and other family members. So first off, I'm going to start with the impact of religion on the development and growth of young people, and yes, the development and growth of young people and how it is portrayed today. So many of us, I would assume, at some points in our lives went to church. Whether it was when we were younger, our parents would have brought us to church, we would have been participating actively. If not, we would just be there singing, whatever the case may be. church is one of the first places that parents would normally take their children, and it plays a crucial role in socialization. So there's something that my mom normally says. Recently in St. Lucia, we've had like a surge in killings, a surge in murder, a surge in like all of those crimes, gun-related activity. And my mom constantly says that what happens is that persons, they do not value life anymore. They don't see the value in caring for other persons, in showing empathy, in building trust with each other, etc. So basically, when you start learning about your religion, I'm Catholic. When you start learning about your religion, you learn about how the religion impacts law and how religion helps to bring back positive values and instill positive values in individuals. So, for example, let's take killing. The Bible really speaks against killing, and it shows the value for life, the miracle of life, and how life is important. So, what ends up happening now? Today, I'm not sure if it's a phenomenon or something that many people experience, but going to school, up until I think about late last year when I started A level, I would remember being in classrooms, and anytime somebody brought up something about going to church, they would be ridiculed, they would be like, jokes would be made about them. Now, I go to church. I've never really been embarrassed about it because, again, it's my belief, my religious belief, and I'm a God-fearing individual. So, but many other persons, it would kind of discourage them from going to church. When they stop going to church now, every Sunday at church, it's not to say when you're in a church you're being taught anything bad, there are any like bad values, that the priest says anything that's not supposed to be said, anything that's wrong. You're basically being taught good values. And young persons being pushed away from a religious environment kind of deters them deters them from gaining those values, from building morals, from learning about the importance of those things. And that's just my belief as somebody who is really religious and who attends church as often as I can, considering school and other stuff. My next point, other than religion, would be would be mainly about emotional regulation and consideration vulnerability in families. So I think the previous presenter said something about how, like, one of the previous presenters said something about the changing in the way things will be for with persons as compared to now. What I would like to say is that from the way my parents describe it and from things that I have seen, older parents, children born of previous generations, their parents tend to undermine their emotions, their thoughts, their beliefs, and act based on the parents' own emotions without considering that of the children. That's something that I personally believe leads to detriment and breakdown in families. Okay, so let's say for instance, something is happening in the house that a child does not like, and the child expresses that. Sometimes the parents would stay and then they would snap at the children for it, and then the children end up not trusting their parents, not wanting to communicate with their parents, and that just breaks down the family on a whole. And that's something that definitely absolutely should not be. Parents should be able to make homes a safe space for children so that children would be able to be vulnerable with their parents. And that helps to build emotional intelligence, helps with emotional regulation. Because if you grow up in an environment where you're just bottling up your emotions, at some point it is going to spill out. At some point you'll not be able to control it under a lot of pressure, and you just end up doing yourself more harm than good. Whereas if you're a parent who helps children work through their problems, work through with their emotions, try to understand their feelings, then the children would be more likely to understand their feelings as they grow up and to be able to navigate other situations where they may feel hurt. And even with positive emotions as well, some parents just don't enjoy their children being too energetic to anything because, again, they would find that to be annoying. But at the end of the day, it does more harm to children than good. And I would like to go back to one of the points one of the previous presenters made, I had it in my presentation. She said about parents not playing with their children. I would like to add on to that. Parents today, I find in the past, you'd find children being outside, playing with each other, having fun. I'm 17 now, so I was probably one of the a part of the last generation of children that actually went outside to play and have fun. And now you're seeing children inside on iPads, on TVs, on phones, laptops. The parents barely want to interact with their children, and they're like, you know what? Nothing is being broken in the house, nothing is being damaged. The children are safe inside, not getting hurt or anything. They're on their iPads. But what some of them fail to understand, in my opinion, is that you need to interact with children in order to socialize them properly. An iPad isn't going to teach a child right from wrong, especially with now you see parents just dumping laptops, dumping phones in and iPads, everything in front of their children, not regulating what they watch, not regulating the content that they view, not seeing anything that they do, just let them do whatever they will on the iPad, and they get exposed to a lot of content that's not appropriate for children, that's not age appropriate, stuff that will basically um stuff that would cause them could lead to paranoia, especially with the way algorithm works for places, for example, in the States. Most of the content that the children would watch in is from the States, from America, from these places. And these places, they do have a decent, well, not decent, but a high enough level of crime, a high enough level of corruption and stuff that children should not be exposed to at such a young age, where they should be learning to have fun. So, and as well, with those devices, children don't learn the skills. Children don't learn how to be empathetic. They don't learn how to build trust. They don't learn how to socialize with others. And that just leads to children not knowing how to interact with other people, not learning how to be empathetic, not learning how to trust others, how to show others that they can trust them. And a lot of the content also leads to paranoia because all they see is people hurting other people. If that's all you're exposed to at a young age, you'll just grow up fearing everybody, and then eventually you build that survival mindset that, okay, before that person can hurt me, I will have to hurt them first. And that can be very, very detrimental to the mind of an individual, in my opinion. Right. And something else. Hold on. I'm just going through my points. Okay. So there are several ways I believe that parents could just teach their children the basic values for religion, bringing them to church. And I understand some parents aren't religion. Religion isn't just the cure all to everything. Church isn't the cure all. I get that. But at the same time, if you are a religious parent, why would you hide your religion from your children? Especially when you know, like sometimes in certain religions, certain things may come off as being controversial. I get that. But at the same time, you go to church on a Sunday, the priest doesn't preach about people going after each other and killing each other. The priest doesn't tell you to steal from your neighbors. And that would just lead to more peace, more collaboration, more cooperation in the society. Um, and another thing also, society today is built on parents, I would say parents, families, and there's a lot of division between parents and families. I've seen that firsthand. So let's say somebody in the family has an issue with somebody, a minor issue, boom, your whole family is divided from that other family. So now in society, something happens to you, you're out in the community, something happens to you. Nobody wants to pick you up, nobody wants to help you because again, they see that your family has done something. Sometimes it's just something very minor that happens and then nobody wants to assist you with it. um I would say, especially with culture is something that's supposed to bring people together, unite people, should like build a common ground. But at the same time, now you see a lot of, before it used to be worse, segmentation between different cultures and stuff like that. But now some of the stereotypes are just simply ridiculous. and harmful, and they cause other persons to just, they cause a lot of young people to want to stay away from people of a certain type or stay away from a certain set of people because of this, because of that, even though nobody has ever done anything to them. It's just what the parents want the younger children to believe. And now, when you don't have families coming together in society, you have this family is upset with this family is upset with that one over minor issues. It leads to war. So let's say you're just walking and you just look at the person the wrong way. It's already a fight, it's already a war, and then it cannot be contained at that point. This was like people need to be able to learn to be united again, to come back together and to do better for the benefit of the children, for the benefit of the youth, and for the benefit of society and the country as a whole. That's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Wow, very powerful contribution here from Veronica. Of course, a youthful perspective, having her personal experience and also having that relationship with her parents where she can learn from the past and see what positive examples she can take from there to bring into the current environment that we have. Keep up the great work, and I wish you all the best as you continue to move forward in peace building. So, as we draw to a close, we extend our gratitude to Mr. Remy Topier, the Director of the Universal Peace Federation in St. Lucia, for spearheading today's webinar on this special occasion of the International Day of Families.
I'm speaking too. I'm speaking, Jonelle.
1 second, somebody needs to be muted.
Yeah,
Okay.
Remy.
Originally from France, Remy has been a steadfast advocate for peace and family strengthening during his 27 years residing in St. Lucia with his family, which includes 3 children and 4 grandchildren. Remy's leadership and dedication have been instrumental in bringing together today's discussion, highlighting the importance of families in breaking the cycle of poverty and reducing violent behavior. His efforts in conducting workshops on conflict resolution and character education in schools and youth groups have laid the groundwork for fostering peaceful communities. We commend Remy for his initiative in organizing this webinar and his ongoing commitment to promoting harmony and understanding within families and society at large. So help me welcome Mr. Remy Topier.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for following this webinar. And you know, the families are important. And I would like to tell 2 stories. I'm going to share my screen. This is okay. So the first story is an American educator and pastor. His name is Albert Winship. He decided to trace out the descendants of Jonathan Edwards, an American pastor who lived 1703 to 1758. And then in 1897, he published his work, so he could trace around 1,400 descendants. And here is somehow, they grouped some category. 295 graduated from college, 100 studied law, some even became judge and lawyer, 80 became elected officials, 3 became US senators, 3 became mayors of large cities, 3 became elected as state governors, 75 became officers in the Army and the Navy, 100 became missionaries or pastors or preachers or writers, and 1 became a US vice president, 1 became controller of the US Treasury. No record of murder or criminal or went to prison. That's an amazing descendants that this man has. So that's kind of brilliant. And at the same time, that's why it's interesting, same time around another person, Albert Winship, he's a merchant and a sociologist. no, sorry, he's Richard Dugdale. So he's a merchant and a sociologist. And he was also a member of the committee of the Prison Association of New York. And in 1874, he was asked by the committee to visit the prisons. So he's visiting the prisons. And one day, as he was visiting the prison of Ulster County, this district of New York, he found out that 6 of the inmates were related, even if they had different names. So this piqued his curiosity, and he became interested to research about their parents and grandparents, and even further. So he went through all the court and the prison records and the town poor houses book. At that time, they were providing meal for needed, but you had to write your name in this poor houses book. So he looked at that and all the newspapers. And by doing this, he could trace up their ancestors to more than 100 years and came up to a couple named Max and Mrs. Jukes, like the beginner, the one who started the lineage of the one he was studying. And he published this work in 1879 with the title, The Jukes, A Study in Crime, Pauperism, Disease, and Heredity. So he found 540 descendants, direct descendants from this original Max Jukes, and 169 who joined in the lineage of the Jukes by marriage or cohabitation. A total of 709 people descending from him, Max Jukes. And so among them, what he found is 440 lived in poverty. 180 had been on the poor houses assistance. 140 had been convicted of criminal offenses at one point or another one, stealing, robbery, violence, drunkenness, and went to prison at some point of their lives. 60 had been habitual thieves, 7 had been murdered, 50 had been common prostitutes, and 40 women with venereal disease and who infected people. So this is not a beautiful picture we can see, but I must say that the way he worked to find those ancestors, he went through the courthouse records, the prison records, this poorhouses book. So of course, he really focused on the, let's say, the more bad ones. So that's why this study is not really scientific. Someone will need to come up and research also maybe the better one. But anyway, probably nobody so special came out because it's not recorded. So we can, it's give an indication how the descendants work, how the descendant can be. We can see that on the side of Edwards, we can see the contribution to the nation. Many of those descendants really worked for the nation and took responsibility in position, national places or serving the community. On the side of Jukes, it's more burden for the society. So, of course, this is not a scientific study, right? Don't take it as a science, but it gives us an idea of the importance of the lineage. So let me give some point on this. You know, in every generation, even for the Edwards, every generation is never automatic. The children are children, they need to be educated, they need to be guided. So at every generation, there is a work of nourishing, educating, guiding the young people, whether it's Edward's lineage or the Juke lineage. Probably the difference is that the Edward lineage, we can see families are more stable. So probably also there is a better relation, or there is the grandparents there. So we have each generation, there is grandparents also playing a role that helps. So each generation to be able to keep this kind of values and life that can be passed on from generation to generation. On the side also of Jukes, it's not automatic that they would be automatically poor and so on. Surely, I'm sure some of them could escape that kind of life, but it's more difficult because there is not stable families. Probably grandparents also are not there around. So that shows us the difficulty when you have like that broken families and so on. It's much more difficult. I know that government tries to help, but no government cannot replace missing fathers. It's very difficult. So that's why we have to really realize the importance of the family, the family support, the grandparents. So for us as parents, this is important to realize when we raise our children, we not only raise them for this time now, this generation, but already everything we invest to raise our children well, it's also invested for the next generation and even for our grandchildren and great-grandchildren. This is how somehow it works. That's why when we speak of the importance of the family, we have to see it's not just now, but also through several generations. So I just wanted to share this. Thank you very much. We have had outstanding panelists this evening. And especially, I want to thank Jonelle, that has been an outstanding presenter, really amazing, is not it? I'm sure that everybody agrees. So let's give a round of applause for Jonelle. Thank you very much, Jonelle. Back to you.
All right. Thank you for your kind words, Remy, and thank you for what you have just shared. So in Psalms 133:1, we're reminded, behold how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity. This verse definitely highlights the beauty and harmony that comes from unity within families, echoing the sentiments of our discussion today and the importance of how strengthening families can heal the nation. So as we come to the end of our insightful discussion, I want to express my sincere gratitude to our esteemed speakers. We heard from Dr. Ricardo de Sena, Andricia Octave, Felicia Dujour, Sherwin Alexander, Veronique Roberts, and of course, we just heard from Remy Topier. Thank you for sharing your inspiring stories and your invaluable insights, and not only just highlighting challenges, but also presenting solutions. They have highlighted the critical role of families in fostering peace and harmony in our communities. As we commemorate the International Day of Families, let us reflect on the profound impact that strong family bonds have on shaping our world for the better. I also take the opportunity to remind us all that family isn't just about who we're born with. It is also about the connections we make with others in our lives that we encounter on a day-to-day basis. As citizens, we have a role to play in being there for our extended family. And who are our extended family? Not just our cousins and our aunts and our uncles, but our friends, our neighbors, and other members of our community. Let us embrace this sense of kinship and look out for one another, because together we are stronger. In a world where many face challenges and struggles, knowing that we have a supportive community, not just the family that we're born into, but a chosen family, the family that we can choose, can make all the difference. When we extend our care and support beyond our immediate family, we create a network of resilience and solidarity that benefits everyone involved especially our immediate family. So it is about building our families and building our community and building our country, creating an environment where everyone feels valued, supported, and uplifted, and where no one has to face life's ups or downs alone, because there will be ups and downs. And as Nelson Mandela once said, safety and security does not just happen. They are the result of collective consensus and public investment. We owe our children, the most vulnerable citizens in our society, a life free of violence and fear. So let us continue to work together to build that future, a future where every family and by extension, every individual can thrive in peace and prosperity. Thank you all for your participation and your commitment to promoting peace and unity. And let us carry forward the spirit of today's discussions as we strive to create a world where every family is cherished and every child is nurtured with love and care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. Goodbye.